Razzi Holly. Hello.
Wait, can you do horizontal?
Horizontal, yes. No trash can? Or can you cut it? Can you, like...
Can I cut the trash can? No, the trash can's in front.
Okay.
We're fine with that.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Accepting of everyone.
Including the trash.
Yes.
Okay. First time you encountered the LGBTQ community. That's not the question, but, you know.
Yeah. I grew up in a household where a lot of stuff went unsaid and undiscussed. And that was, in large, a product of who my parents were. My parents grew up in a background where, like, resetting that sentence so I could jump cut to it.
Mm-hmm.
For my parents, they lived in Wisconsin. They grew up in Wisconsin and moved when they were in their 20s. And they had never known anyone who was gay or queer of any kind until they moved to Boston. So that's like 25 plus years of having grown up without knowing anyone who was LGBT. Now, obviously, they knew people who were LGBT, but not who were out. And largely that was because of how prevalent HIV/AIDS was at the time and the stigma associated with that. But that really had an impact on them and therefore had an impact on me because those things just weren't discussed. So I guess I became aware of the existence of LGBT people in school, just through kids talking and people who had family members who were gay, and stuff like that.
Was there ever a time you weren't an ally?
Gonna be honest, no. I mean, actually, yes. So, when I was a young child, in elementary school, middle school, by the time I was aware of, like, queerness and the LGBTQ community, I don't think I ever was, like, outright homophobic, but I didn't really understand that it was something you should be able to discuss. Like, I thought it was, like, a thing that you had to keep hidden about yourself, because that was what the culture was at the time, for me, in my situation. So, when I had an openly gay teacher when I was in 6th grade, it was a surprise, and I was like, what is she doing? Like, she's out, and people know about it, and isn't that weird? And of course now that's like one of my formative memories, because she was the first person I met who was out and who taught me that being out was okay and how brave it was to be honest with yourself and your community.
Awesome.
Can we go back to the, like, LGBT, like, slurs, gay,
Yeah.
that stuff? So, I got made fun of a lot in middle school. The middle school I went to was pretty different from middle school here, and kids were, like, really vicious. And by the time LGBT slurs, that's so gay, faggot, dyke, stuff like that, made its way into the sort of middle school lexicon, I was already really used to being made fun of because I was a mega nerd from birth. So I was so used to getting crap from people, and then when the anti-gay language sort of got thrown into the mix, I remember a kid calling me a lesbian when I was in 7th grade, so I would have been like 12 or 13, and just like standing in the hallway being like, huh, that's different. Like, I'm very used to being made fun of, but that hurts in a different way, and I don't know why.
So sorry. This makes the final cut. Do you want to talk about why it's important to talk about these issues?
Yeah.
In high school?
It's important to talk about issues of gender and sexual minorities in high school because they're in some ways an invisible minority. Some ways of difference are visible. Like, race is a visible difference. Racial minorities are, in many ways, visible minorities. Gender and sexual minorities can be invisible because they can be in the closet, and because they can be, they often are closeted for fear of the repercussions of coming out, whether that be harassment, bullying, violence towards them, insecurity in terms of their home environment. And because of that, even in a community like that of Rivers, where everyone has a lot of privilege and things to be grateful for, there are people in this community who can't be out. And that's a weird thing to think about, because we want to be the community where everyone can be themselves and be celebrated for that. But there are people here who are in the closet who would like to be out that aren't. And that's something that we just have to acknowledge and try and make our environment better so that we can have these people be members of our community who feel good about being members of our community and feel accepted. That's all I have to say.
Do 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 GSA. Do 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 Razzi GSA.